Hello everybody, it's Merlin here. So, I finally got to watch a good chunk of Boku no Hero Academia, and after getting through the first season, upon recommendations of many of my friends, it gave me some inspiration to talk about a topic that's been on my mind for honestly a couple years now. As you probably all know, superhero movies have been a big thing lately. Now, when I was a kid, superheroes were cool, but not quite as mainstream as they are now. It seems that when superheroes get live-action films, they're more acceptable to wider audiences. It might have something to do with Americans believing cartoons and animation were limited to kid stuff or just off-the-wall humor. Batman and Superman were the only guys to have live-action films. Now media is saturated with comic book and superhero properties. In addition to the comics themselves, we still have cartoons and video games, but also several big movies each year and practically too many TV shows to count. I can't even really keep up. Since the popularity of superheroes are as high as they've ever been, it makes sense that it would bleed into other forms of media. From what I understand, superheroes like Batman, Spider-Man, and X-Men are pretty popular in Japan. Some DC and Marvel properties have even been adapted into anime and manga formats. Even more than that though, the last couple years have seen a spike in superhero anime. The first one I really noticed was Tiger and Bunny, which was sort of a half-serious take on superheroes. There was a fair amount of comedy, but there were also some decent stakes with the villains. And I have to admit though, the little of it that I watched didn't really blow me away, but I thought it was nice to see some costume superhero-oriented anime. However, the two shows which blew me away, and many other people too, were One Punch Man and My Hero Academia. At first I wasn't enthralled by the Saitama hype, since I thought it was just too jokey. I'll admit that most comedy from anime doesn't really do it for me. Probably a translation thing. Once I sat down and actually watched One Punch Man though, I actually found the series to be funny, charming, and actually pretty smart. The show pokes fun not only at superhero tropes, but also gets a lot of the sillier elements of shonen battle shows specifically, and anime in general. One of the best aspects of the show was easily the characters. One Punch Man made fun of itself and its medium, and its genre, but it also embraced these elements to tell a pretty compelling story. I think the best aspect of the show was easily the characters. Now, much like the best superhero or shonen stories, the characters are likable and well-rounded. On the surface, characters like Genos might seem like a basic archetype from any battle manga. Despite this, poking a little fun at such an overly serious character actually creates a more realistic dynamic, I think. The show also explored some interesting philosophy relevant to superheroes and shonen protagonists, both. If an individual with too much power could be beaten, perhaps the idea of being a superpowered being could be mundane. This could lead to boredom, depression, and general existential dread. It's a sense of purpose through challenge and aversion that makes a superhero's life, or really anyone's life for that matter, more meaningful. The overblown battles and ridiculous power scaling are fun, but it's those little details that I think push the show past your basic parody. It's in My Hero Academia, though, that I believe a closer balance has actually been achieved. In this universe, most people are born with a quirk, kind of like mass mutation from X-Men. These can range widely in power or specificity. Now, in such a world, everyone has special abilities, so ironically, none of it's really that special. What would the circumstances be, then, for someone born without any special power? In such a society, this person could be seen as odd or even deficient in some way. This series explores the struggles of such a person with Midoriya. I'll admit that it took me a while to get into this show. Upon viewing the first episode, I just felt like it was channeling too much from One Punch Man, but with a very standard underdog story. Basically your standard shonen with a different skin. Now, that might be true to some extent, but after viewing it a bit more, I began to see the appeal of the show and found a little revelation. It's actually a pretty solid superhero show. There are elements of satire, such as characters having career aspirations and chasing celebrity, but they're so commonplace it's become embedded in the culture, almost like a really immersive reality show. Characters having to overcome adversity isn't uncommon in anime. It's kind of the crux of why shows like those work. We want our heroes to succeed and overcome the odds. The problem is that in most shonen anime, it's that they find some hidden power within themselves so often that it can sometimes come off as lazy writing. Now, you could write this off as just good escapist fun, but after seeing it so many times, it's good to have some things become a bit more refreshing. For Midoriya, he is given a hidden power, but only for a limited amount of time. He has to learn how to use it correctly. As his experience grows, so does his control of the power. During this time, he can utilize his training to improve his confidence and interact with other characters. This makes him more of a relatable everyman in comparison to some of the godlike heroes like Goku or Kenshiro. My Hero Academia also uses mentor figures such as All Might to spout the universal ideas of heroism, which are often stressed as more important lessons than having great power or seeking glory. These are good lessons to take away from such shows, especially for younger audiences. I think superheroes are a perfect fit for shonen anime. Many of the most popular shows are essentially superhero shows anyway, just lacking in secret identities and tailored costumes. I don't know if these superpowered shonen are fully transcending the genre, but they are coming up with a very fun and interesting way to explore them. Alright everyone, until next time, stay magical.